Everyone, I'm Anna, and welcome to today's message. Today is our second day of the Diary of Atomic Love, and we are going over first the who, what, where, and why. Today is what are you? From 1 Corinthians 11 and 12. Nevertheless, in the Lord, woman is not independent of man, nor man of woman. For as woman came from man, so also man is born of woman. But everything comes from God. Now, this verse is about the interdependence of genders. And I want to first say that the differences in men and women are both biological and spiritual. But they are complementary and each are meant for specific roles in their human life. And there is no accident of the special importance of both of these, but truthfully, though gender is important in some respects, in other aspects, it is completely irrelevant in Christian life. Now, before anybody gets bent out of shape about that statement, let me explain. God said, I am who I am. He created both men and women in his image. And the truth is that because we are created in his image, male and female genders are within every single human. And in a few minutes, I will get to the point about biblical and scientific difference. Now, our individual genders and our sexual identity are part of our creation, part of our created identity. And despite what the human world might think or not think about the context of identity, you are not free to choose for yourself and change that. And there are people in the world right now who dislike their sexual identity. And so I just want to make it clear that biblically, we do not get to reconstruct it. And when society is against who we think we are humanly, it makes us humanly doubt it. And our sexual identity is actually a gift from God, the same as is your life, your soul, and all the traits physically that come with that. Now, I understand that some people are not humanly comfortable with the sexual identity assigned to them by God, but that is neither here nor there when it comes to spirituality. It is unfortunate if you are one of these people, because I'm sure right now you're disagreeing with me and might even be upset with me for saying that. But I am just going to say that many people in the world are not pleased with how God made them. And they're unhappy about all kinds of things, their athletic ability, their physical features. They want to be more musically inclined, taller, thinner, prettier, better at one thing than another. I'm just as guilty as anybody else of not always being happy with myself. But as human beings, male and female, we dislike a lot. And we have a hard time living with many human things, like our sexual identity, lust, addictions like alcohol, sex, or drugs. We procrastinate, we're lazy, we're sinful, and honestly, many people are hurtful. And your sexual nature is no special case. And you can never be as perfectly good as God made you. So, if you're upset with me right now, you just need to get over that. And you need to open your mind so you can hear what I'm about to show you. There is divine intention behind the difference in our genders. And though we might see God as a human man, he himself transcends human gender as a category. His divine nature is both masculine and feminine. And it is our cultural context that creates specific expectations around that, and that is not in the Bible. Biblically, we are built equal in value and dignity. We each possess unique strengths, and the woman is the nurturing, compassionate, caring, intuitive, and the man is the pillar of strength, leadership, provision, and is action-oriented. And both are essential to the other for a truly balanced spiritual life. Each contributes to the betterment of the other. They are opposite, complementing reflections of each other, and each one contributes to the counterpart by showing the attributes of God and reflecting the mercy, strength, and beauty, and together they are divinely ordained by God. Together, they are the representation of the character of God, and God's perspective is that both genders are souls, and they are interconnected, and each brings certain qualities to the divine image, and both are necessary for humanity. It is the human role on earth that separates them, as we see in our human nature, but both are a perfect reflection of God. So scientifically and biologically, all humans are an organism. The organism is created by the chromosomes, and humans have 23 pairs, each having a certain number of genes. And this happens when we're conceived by the splitting of cells. And in men, there is only one X chromosome and one Y. And in the last pair, it is the Y that makes men have male characteristic, including their sexual identity and the organs that create the male sperm, which are called SRY. Women have X chromosomes, and the last pair creates their identity and the organs that make them able to carry life within. The X chromosomes are the more dominant ones. And there's a few other genes, but mostly the Y chromosome has less. And there are some in the Y that are not in the X. So men and women have genes that the other does not have. And when a child is created, it is the SRY and the Y chromosome that determines if your child will be a boy or a girl. But we do have the same 20 to 25,000 genes by number that reside in each of our cells, and those are called genomes. And they make us who we humanly are. So there are 23 pairs of chromosomes, 22 of which are exactly the same, called autosomes, and the 23rd is the one that contains the sex chromosomes. Now, these come from our parents, and we receive 2 copies of each gene, one from each parent, male and female parents. So this inheritance gives us the complete set of genes known as our genome. And each of our genes creates a small part of us, like how we function, how we get our hair and eye color, our skin tones, and our bodily functions like our metabolism and our immunity. And certain genes determine whether we're prone to sickness or disease and behaviors or predispositions to things like addiction or stress. So simply, genes create our physical appearance, health, and behavior. These genes also stay in their own lane, controlling only their own subset within the gene. So the heart, brain, muscles, nerves, and all other parts are controlled by their own cells. So the genes ignore anything that is not directly needed for its very specific function. Our genes are all kept in one place, a nucleus, and the individual genes are copied within the system to build proteins that work inside of our cells called messenger RNA or mRNAs. And these cells control the genes by making sure that they stay inside that lane. For example, they make sure that the cells for the heart do not create brain cells. And up until this point, we all have the exact same genes and copies. The only exception is the 23rd pair of chromosomes, the sex chromosome, which makes us biologically male or female. And it is the copy function that makes women and men expressively different because the gene pattern determines estrogen and progesterone. And this gives us the male and female traits. All right, well, enough about science and biology. So you're probably by this time asking, what is the purpose of explaining all this? Well, this is where I get to the point of today's message. The only true thing that separates humans and their sexual orientation is a variant based on a chromosome with one different set of characteristics. Gender is determined by social expectations that society considers as appropriate for men and women. And that is shaped by your personal sense of gender and expression that may or may not line up with your biological sex. Biological sex is fixed at birth, and gender is based on the expectation of the outside world. Now that you understand the difference, I want you to keep this information handy because this specific lesson will be used in a different discussion in the future. This week, I will be continuing to discuss multiple factors that make us who we are as humans, biologically, physically, scientifically, spiritually, and biblically. But by the time we get through this series, you will clearly understand how all this ties to the magnificent design of who we are and how our specific design has no coincidence. How all things, especially love, fit into the divine plan of God and how nothing in the universe goes untouched by his hand. You will understand not only our physical being, but where you came from, why you are here on earth, and ultimately why God has planned for you to have your own journey and mission and how you can obtain it so that you can be the whole person God intended for you to be in unconditional love and fulfill your journey in God's power, mercy, and grace. My friends, in a world where you could be anything, choose to be love. Love is the answer. If this resonated with you, please like and share my post. And thank you for your donations to My Divine Mission and for helping me to keep my messages alive. I will see you tomorrow.